Welcome to the Hand and Power Tools course. My name is Markus Wesaw and I will be your instructor for the course. My email and telephone number are listed on the screen, so if you have any questions about this course or its content, feel free to contact me at your discretion. So let's first discuss the objectives of this Hand and Power Tools course. I want you to be able to recognize hazards of hand and power tools, including misuse of the tools, need for replacement, and common electrical hazards. I really want to stress the importance of guards, and so I want you to understand the purpose of guards and why guards are utilized. I want you to recognize the double insulation symbol with respect to electrical safety and power tools. And more to the point, I really want you to be able to list the 5 basic rules of hand and power tools safety. Let's begin through the process of hazard recognition. So what I'd like to discuss here is that tools are such a common part of our lives that it is very difficult to remember that they may pose hazards. All tools are manufactured with safety in mind, but tragically, a serious accident often occurs before steps are taken to search out and avoid or eliminate tool-related hazards. In the process of removing or avoiding the hazards, workers must learn to recognize the hazards associated with the different types of tools and the safety precautions necessary to prevent those hazards. So, as you can tell, injury prevention is indeed the key. Hand tools are non-powered. They include anything from axes to wrenches. The greatest hazards posed by hand tools result from misuse and improper maintenance. Here are some examples. Using a screwdriver as a chisel may cause the tip of the screwdriver to break and fly, hitting the user or other employees. If a wooden handle on a tool, such as a hammer or an axe, is loose, splintered, or cracked, the head of the tool may fly off and strike the user or another worker. A wrench must not be used if its jaws are sprung because it might slip. Impact tools such as chisels, wedges, or drift pins are unsafe if they have mushroomed heads. The heads might shatter on impact, sending sharp fragments flying. The employer is responsible for the safe condition of tools and equipment used by employees, but the employees have the responsibility for properly using and maintaining tools. Employers should caution employees that saw blades, knives, or other tools be directed away from aisle areas and other employees working in close proximity. Knives and scissors must be sharp. Dull tools can be more hazardous than sharp ones. Appropriate personal protective equipment such as safety goggles and gloves should be worn due to hazards that may be encountered while using portable power tools and hand tools. Safety requires that floors be kept as clean and dry as possible to prevent accidental slips with or around dangerous hand tools. Around flammable substances, sparks produced by iron and steel hand tools can be a dangerous ignition source. Where this hazard exists, spark-resistant tools made from brass, plastic, aluminum, or wood will provide for safety. Power tool precautions. Power tools can be hazardous when improperly used. There are several types of power tools based upon the power source that they use: electric, pneumatic, liquid fuel, hydraulic, and powder actuated. Employees should be trained in the use of all tools, not just power tools. They should understand the potential hazards as well as the safety precautions to prevent those hazards from occurring. The following general precautions should be observed by power tool users. Never carry a tool by the cord or hose. Never yank the cord or the hose to disconnect it from the receptacle. Keep cords and hoses away from heat, oil, and sharp edges. Disconnect tools when not in use, before servicing, and when changing accessories such as blades, bits, and cutters. All observers should be kept at a safe distance away from the work area. Secure work with clamps or vise, freeing both hands to operate the tool. Avoid accidental starting. The worker should not hold a finger on the switch button while carrying a plugged-in tool. Tools should be maintained with care according to the manufacturer's written recommendations and should be kept sharp and clean for the best performance. Follow all the instructions in the user's manual for lubricating and changing accessories. Be sure to keep good footing and maintain good balance. The proper apparel should be worn. Loose clothing, ties, or jewelry can be caught in moving parts. All portable electric tools that are damaged shall be removed from use and tagged "Do Not Use." Guards. Hazardous moving parts of a power tool needed to be safeguarded. For example, belts, gears, shafts, pulleys, sprockets, spindles, drums, flywheels, chains, or other reciprocating, rotating, or moving parts of equipment must be guarded if such parts are exposed to contact by employees. Guards, as necessary, should be provided to protect the operator and others from the following: point of operation, in-running nip points, rotating parts, and flying chips and sparks. Safety guards must never be removed when a tool is being used. For example, portable circular saws must be equipped with guards. An upper guard must cover the entire blade of the saw. A retractable lower guard must cover the teeth of the saw, except when it makes contact with the work material. The lower guard must automatically return to the covering position when the tool is withdrawn from the work. In this particular example, we see a motor with a pulley belt and an exposed in-running nip points. And I've put two arrows here to show you where a possible in-running nip point could amputate a finger or suck in some type of loose clothing. And so as you can tell here, this particular machine requires a guard. Electric tools. Employees using electric tools must be aware of several dangers. The most serious is the possibility of electrocution. Among the chief hazards of electrical powered tools are burns and slight shocks, which can lead to injuries or even heart failure. Under certain conditions, even a small amount of current can result in fibrillation of the heart and eventual death. A shock also can cause the user to fall off of a ladder or other elevated work surface. To protect the user from shock, tools must either have a 3-wire cord with a ground and be grounded, be double insulated, or be powered by a low voltage isolation transformer. 3-wire cords contain 2 current carrying conductors and a grounding conductor. One end of the grounding conductor connects to the tool's metal housing. The other end is grounded through a prong on the plug. Anytime an adapter is used to accommodate a 2-hole receptacle, the adapter wire must be attached to a known ground. The third prong should never be removed from the plug. Double insulation is more convenient. The user and the tools are protected in 2 ways: by normal insulation on the wire's inside and by a housing that cannot conduct electricity to the operator in the event of a malfunction. These general practices should be followed when using electrical tools. First, electrical tools should be operated within their design limitations. Gloves and safety footwear are recommended during use of electrical tools. When not in use, tools should be stored in a cool, dry place. Electric tools should not be used in damp or wet locations, and all work areas should be well lighted. And I really want you to understand that the symbol that you see here, the box within a box or square within a square, is the symbol for double insulation. And so as you can see here on a skill saw, you'll see that on the label you'll see the square within a square. And I know it's hard to see, but going back here you can see the square within a square, so at least you'll know what you should be looking out for. Now if you don't see the square within a square symbol, what you will see is possibly have it written out. So you might see no symbol, but the label will read double insulated. And so sometimes you see both, as you see here with this skill saw example, but other times you may see one or the other. So we went over the electrical tool general practices just a moment ago, so if you want to jot those down or get those, go ahead and put those in your notes. But for now, let's go over the 5 basic safety rules. And so what we have here is employees who use hand and power tools and who are exposed to the hazards of falling, flying, abrasive, and splashing objects, or exposed to harmful dust, fumes, mist, vapors, or gases, must be provided with particular personal protective equipment necessary to protect them from the hazards. All hazards involved in the use of power tools can be prevented by following these 5 basic safety rules. All hazards involved in the use of power tools can be prevented with this method. It works, and if it's important to you, what I would recommend is that you jot these 5 basic safety rules down. First is to keep all tools in a good condition with regular maintenance. Use the right tool for the right job. Examine each tool for damage prior to use. Operate according to the manufacturer's instructions always. And finally, provide and use the proper protective equipment. Employees and employers have a responsibility to work together to establish safe working procedures. If a hazardous situation is encountered, it should be brought to the attention of the proper individual immediately. And to kind of drive home our discussion on hand and power tools as we wrap up this discussion and training session, let's look at some common OSHA violations that I frequently see amongst all industries. Here we have a Craftsman circular saw, and the guard has been basically rigged up with a bolt so that it remains unguarded. Again, we see an unguarded circular saw. In this particular photograph, we see that somebody had made their own tools, and they're actually very creative and inventive in doing so, but unless we can get an engineer to sign off on the use of these tools and tell us that it's safe, we cannot use any makeshift tools in any industry. It's against the rules. Here we see an axe head or wooden handle here that is actually taped up because it had been cracked. Okay, we can't use tape to cover up cracks, we just have to replace the handle. Now this one's pretty interesting. This was a photograph of a lawnmower, and as you can see here, somebody got very creative. I'll zoom in for you, and they took a bungee cord and basically secured the guard down so that they didn't have to hold it in place. And here we see an inappropriate use of a jack, creating quite a interesting position with this car, and that you can see that the hazards are obvious there in this mechanic shop. Here we see a jack being inappropriately used and stored. We see an abrasive wheel here that has not been appropriately guarded. The guard has actually been removed. In this particular photo, this is one of my favorites. We see two employees utilizing nail guns or power guns that shoot nails, and one is on the other side, and you can see here how these two guys don't really talk a lot, or maybe they don't like each other. I don't know what the case is, but you can see how this poses a significant hazard just by looking at it. So those pictures, I hope, kind of bring things home for you, and I hope that the 5 basic rules of hand and power tool safety resonate with you in your careers. And if you can identify these kind of hazards in the workplace, I think you'll really enhance the likelihood of injury prevention. And if you have any other questions on hand or power tools, please give me a call or email me at your discretion. Hope you have a terrific day. Thank you.